of who Aspire Health is, but we are a unique little bridge between the two major hospital systems. So we are co-owned by Montage Health, so Community Hospital of Monterey Peninsula, as well as Salinas Valley Memorial Healthcare System. So these two, essentially competing hospital systems came together with the aligned purpose of population health and being able to launch different programs into the community that are either low cost or free. And so one of our biggest endeavors was launching this diabetes collaborative, which was launched a few years ago with a 5-year strategic plan to, basically reduce the incidence of diabetes in our county, which we all are aware that it's, fairly high throughout adults and through our children. And so we have 3 different domains for that, diabetes prevention, public education, and then diabetes management. And so we have focused on, various little tactics and metrics and objectives of these domains. So one of our biggest campaigns for public engagement is our Don't Feed the Diabetes awareness campaign. And this is something that you may have seen throughout the last year. We launched last November, and it kind of personifies bringing to light a beast that we call the diabetes beast. And it's meant for both, adults and children, and is seen throughout the Monterey County, over TV, by, radio, Facebook, Twitter, even TikTok. And it shows that when you feed the beast with unhealthy behaviors, unhealthy food, the beast becomes bigger. And if you feed it with healthier habits, the beast will eventually, what we hope, leave Monterey County. And so through that diabetes campaign, we have gone into schools and work sites to provide the awareness and also provide some tools and resources for everyone. On the diabetes prevention program side, we also have a CDC recognized diabetes prevention program for adults. This is a free program for everyone as long as you're eligible. And so I can certainly give some more information about that in a few minutes. And then we also have an amazing pediatric wellness program that works through physician referrals, but also through self-referrals from individuals like yourself. And so this is also a free program. It's a 4-week family-based program that focuses on, healthier habits as a family and coming together to make those changes. My computer's a little slow. There we go. So many people know, why diabetes prevention is important. We know that it can do devastating things to our body, to mostly every system of our body, but also the fact that it's expensive. So it's expensive for health plans to, manage these patients, but also for yourself, for work sites. It's essentially an expensive, chronic condition. And so as you can see by these stats on here, these are pulled from, I believe, 2018. So we're hoping for some new data, in the next few years to really focus on the pandemic and what the pandemic, how it, brought to light more, more diabetes diagnosis, especially in children. So most of you may be very familiar with type 2 diabetes, but we always just like to emphasize, what it is and and how their body might react to insulin. So for someone with type 2 diabetes, their body either doesn't make enough insulin or can't use the insulin it does make very well. And so this can lead to this buildup of too much glucose or blood sugar in our cells or in our blood, making it impossible to kind of enter our cells to be used for energy or being stored for later. And so it's tricky because our body needs insulin to help move the blood sugar into our cells. And so with someone with diabetes, this causes a dysfunction of this part. When someone has pre-diabetes, this means that blood sugars are higher than normal, but not necessarily high enough to be considered a diabetes diagnosis. And so this is really what our focus is around, diabetes prevention programming, is kind of targeting these people that, may be at risk, but not necessarily receiving care for diabetes management. And so the great thing about pre-diabetes is that you can lower your risk. You can, decrease weight. You can build healthier habits to essentially move out of that pre-diabetic range. And so that's, what our diabetes prevention program does is works with, people, community members throughout 1 year to show that you can build healthier habits and decrease your fasting blood glucose lab or your A1C, your hemoglobin A1C, which is a average of 3 months of what your blood sugar would be. I'm not managing the chat, but feel free to ask any questions in there, and then Susie can let me know how to answer them. So one of the biggest questions, what puts you at risk for type 2 diabetes? Some of the major ones are age, weight, and family history. So, unfortunately, the older we get, the higher our risk is. The more we weigh, that can interfere with, insulin resistance and create that. Family history. Immediate family, if someone has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, this can also increase our chances. And then things like physical activity and eating habits. Of course, those contribute to, to increasing our risk, but those are the ones that we can actually change. So we may not be able to change, our age or our family history, our race, but we can change those things. Gestational diabetes is another big factor. If you've been diagnosed with gestational diabetes when you were pregnant, this can increase the odds for later. So you may not develop diabetes right away, but this is something that's a big risk factor. And so we always, try to meet with women who may have had, increased risk during pregnancy, even if their blood sugars have gone back to normal postpartum. And then also high blood pressure. So that is something that if you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, that's something that we can work on lowering and in turn lowering your risk. Most of the things that we can do to lower our risk are, something that we all would have been able to, to say out loud off the top of our heads. But it's, sometimes it's harder to put those in action. And so one of those, we can reduce our risk of being active every day, whether it's taking a walk on our break, taking the stairs, doing some small strength training, doing cardio, gardening. All these things can contribute to the whole of being active. Losing weight, that would be including physical activity, but also healthier eating habits. And then taking medication if your doctor prescribes it. So we do, we do see pre-diabetics with, taking medication more often now. It is more common, and they have seen that it can lower risk and delay the onset of diabetes. Bringing us to our Don't Feed the Diabetes campaign. So in the bottom of the screen, you'll see the beast. He kind of looks friendly, but to kids, he's not. And so this is the beast that grows bigger and happier when we are feeding it with unhealthier, foods and or habits. So on our Don't Feed the Diabetes website, it's don'tfeedthediabetes.com. Here we have a one-stop shop for all things diabetes related throughout the county. And so this is a family-friendly website where you can learn your risk. So we have a health risk assessment that is in English and Spanish for adults and children to take. But unfortunately, it's more based for adults. This goes through some of those risk factors that I mentioned on the previous slides and can show you what your risk is and if you are considered at higher risk than other people. This also connects you if you are high risk or even if you are not and you're wanting more resources. We can have you complete the assessment and include your name and phone number. And our team will give you a call and provide you with the most appropriate resources. So things like the children's program, our adult program, but then we can also connect you with the various community classes that both health systems have. So we have healthy eating classes, we have mindfulness classes, stress management. All of those can contribute, to a decreased risk of diabetes. And then we also have, some fun little articles on there, as well as some real stories from community members. And this is something that shows why our programs are working. So we have some kids on there that talk about, what they learned throughout the family program and how they've made changes and what are some of those little, those small changes that they made that ultimately made lifelong habits. And so those are great to read and also share if you have, someone that you are trying to reach out to or, tell more about, these programs. The biggest things that we can do just as an individual is know our own risk. So I will share another slide that will have a QR code that links directly to the health risk assessment. And this will show you your risk. And if you're interested, you can always complete it, and then we'll get back to you with some great resources. Talk to your doctor. So we encourage everyone to have a PCP, a primary care physician, that they see at least annually. This is a great way to, find out blood work. And so getting your labs done, getting that fasting blood glucose done, or your average glucose, your A1C, that's a good way to know if you're truly pre-diabetic and have that doctor diagnosis. And like I said, people can be pre-diabetic and make changes and then go back and get their A1C retested and no longer be in that pre-diabetic range. And that's what we're all about, is trying to avoid or delay the onset of a diabetes diagnosis. And then always share. So people don't talk about diabetes. It's one of those conditions that can be kind of stigmatized, especially with the habits that can sometimes accompany type 2 diabetes. And so we want to kind of normalize that and be able to share about it. Everyone, I have diabetes in my family. We have family that has diabetes. It's around. It's something that's not talked about. And so sharing this with friends, with your children, that's also a big piece as well, is normalizing the conversation about making, healthier habits. So one of our other pieces of this diabetes prevention piece is getting into schools. And so we developed a kind of a ready-to-go curriculum that can be implemented in schools around Monterey County. That is about a 30-minute lesson plan that teaches students what diabetes is, and talks about, it brings up insulin, it brings up your cells, and, using the sugar for energy. And it also talks about what are things that kids can do every day to live healthier and happier. And so it's all designed on, what you can put in your body that makes you feel good, that gives you energy, and doing those things every day. And also normalizing that you can have, some, we call them sometimes foods, having those sometimes foods, sometimes being able to choose to have French fries or a piece of cake. But doing it at a sometimes cadence rather than a weekly or daily cadence. And so we created this curriculum. We also worked with Blue Zones Project to help us, get this out into schools. And in turn, we received a grant after creating this education to incentivize teachers in Monterey County to provide this to their students. So we are providing a $50 gift card to teachers that participate, as well as a small piece of swag that's Don't Feed the Diabetes related to all the students. And so this is, really for elementary, middle, and high school. We have 3 different modules for all different levels. And then we also have a Spanish version as well. And so we do have teachers kind of toggle between the 2 slide decks based on, their classroom preference. And so this is something that we're really excited about. We're excited about vamping it up for next year. We have some great ideas about, making this more interactive, more so than now, and kind of revamping an entire lesson plan for the 2022 to 2023 school year. So right now we're kind of focusing on finishing up this year. It was a little bit difficult with COVID, which was understandable, and just, teachers are overwhelmed. We know that, everyone at the school was at some point teaching and filling in and on leave. And so we understand that. And we, still think that it's important to get this information out there. So I threw this into the slide deck because I wanted you all to know that there is a resource for your children, for students, for teachers. It comes with a teacher's guide, and there's a little pop quiz on it that will link it back to our data so we know which teacher completed it, and then I can reach out and provide them with the gift card. As of today, we've had over 125 teachers participate and over 3,000 students learning this education. And so from what we've heard, it's been a great, little introduction to kind of the science behind diabetes and introducing, that healthier habits can make a large difference and creating lifelong habits. And then when we're teaching when students or teachers are teaching the education, we're also encouraging them to have the students bring this home to families. So bringing it home to their loved ones to normalize the conversation about type 2 diabetes and making healthier lifestyle choices. Things like, reworking your fridge and your your snack cabinet to make sure that all of like the nuts and the healthier items are more visible, and the ones that maybe those sometimes foods, those are a little bit harder to reach, which is also something that aligns with Blue Zones Project. If you're not aware of what Blue Zones Project is, I'm happy to share about that after. But they also do little tips and tricks about how to organize your kitchen so that it fuels a healthier lifestyle. And then also, you know, new family traditions, rather than a movie night, taking a walk, things like that, that can incorporate children, youth, high school students learn that you can do some healthy activities and then also, you know, watch Netflix and kind of relax. And that's also stress reducing as well. We want them to learn that behavior changes, you know, can affect our health. So that is, you know, kind of bringing the full picture of like what we do from adults to children. And we're really excited about working with, you know, the entire Monterey County. I always like to call out Greenfield. Greenfield implemented district-wide, and they have really created a healthier and happier community. So I always call out them. They were so ready to provide this education to their students. I want to say almost every single teacher at all their schools participated. So that was really exciting, and being able to provide all of that swag and all of those gift cards, you know, for classroom purchases, especially in this time of COVID where, you know, not a lot of happiness is happening. Okay, so I'll leave this on the screen for a little bit and allow for questions. This is a QR code that links to the health risk assessment. Feel free to, you know, do this and also share it, you know, with other, you know, family and friends. And then I'll also open it up for any questions right now. And it can be anything related, even Aspire Health questions. We do get questions about, you know, what else we do here at Aspire.
Mia, I don't think we have any questions. I am recording the session, and I am going to be sending this over to our IT department, and they're gonna put it in YouTube, and then we'll put it on our wellness page for, you know, those that were not able to join us today. They can go ahead and listen to it, and I'm sure if anyone has any questions or wants more information, they will either reach out to myself or to you, and we can go from there.
Wonderful, thank you. So
Is anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
No, you're good. Okay, so we do have another QR code. This will only be active for you guys because we've opened this up and activated it, and then we'll close it in about an hour. So you can simply complete this. I believe it asks you if you completed the HRA, the health risk assessment. And then we do a sweepstakes at the end of, we'll do it at the end of May. And so this is a great way to earn that new Fitbit, which is a great way to track your steps and also learn what your resting heart rate is. There's a whole bundle of stuff I could go on because I love my Fitbit. So I'll leave that open. And then any questions, again, you know, if it's unrelated to, you know, diabetes prevention, happy to just answer any questions or point you in the right direction. I'm not a clinician. I just work with the community and, you know, diabetes prevention on the non-clinical side.
Okay, if nobody has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.